Okay.
I do the specialty classes for people who really need instruction that could be broken all the way down and answering the whys behind why you do certain things. So those are my classes. And then besides that, I'm the artistic director for 2 companies. Let's change that because the umbrella company counts as well. 3 companies. I serve as the artistic director for the center as a whole. So I work with the various organizations that come through from all of our resident artists, and there are about 4 that work here right now, including Mary Love Dance Project, there's Kobe Project, U-Turn Dance, which I am the artistic director of, which is a youth professional company, and More Dance Project. Again, I'm the company artistic director as well, where I get to work with seasoned African American professionals who talk about some very poignant issues in African American culture and history. So I have multiple roles around here, and serving as co-founder. In addition to being artistic director in several places, I'm also the chairman of the board here for our board of directors, where we're making the decisions that make this place function or not function. So I stay pretty busy, and my projects include sponsorship by the National Endowment for the Arts for shows by More Dance Project, like it's called Sacred Slave Stories, and I've gotten that award now for 3 years in a row. Some of my accolades include a residency at the Jurassic Resident Artist Program, where I spent a month out in California just hibernating and getting into my thing where I do my arting. And I spent a month out there, and I've created an amazing new work that we're hoping to show tidbits of later this fall. So we'll have like a little in-house presentation. More Dance Project will do something, and U-Turn Dance will do something as well. So I stay pretty busy in addition to traveling up to New York, New Jersey. I'm always teaching classes and things up in Montclair and New York City and stuff like that. I have a very exciting job, a lot of things that get done right here. So.
Now, More Dance Project, why have you decided to, is it strictly African American?
No, and that's why I call it project, because it is what it happens to be what I'm doing at that moment.
Okay.
And More Dance Project, I like to work with, again, keeping with the mission of the organization, a broader perspective in dance. More Dance Project has done a show called Unheard Insight, where we worked with people who were blind and deaf. We brought them to stage. I've done a show now with, some of my ASD students and some of my Down syndrome students, where we've brought them into performances and stuff like that. But More Dance Project, when it comes to sacred slave stories, because there was a need, again, education put me into this space, right? The schools were asking for some type of programming that would help them for Black History Month. So there's a board.
All right.
Okay, I want to be responsible while I'm reaching out to those Title I schools, because they were Title I schools needing this input. I want to be responsible and accountable, so I can go out there and pop, lock, and drop real quick. And of course, the students will like that, but will they learn something from it? So instead, I tied it in with the Federal Writers Project, 1936 to 1938, where Franklin Delano Roosevelt requested that the remaining slaves that were alive have their messages or their testimonies recorded. And so what I did was I built a show based on those actual testimonies.
Wow.
And took that show into the schools. So now my little brown brothers and sisters who are in these schools were actually not only just getting a history lesson, but they were learning first-hand accounts of what slaves thought and or may have been thinking while they were actually slaves. So that perspective brings up a new project that I can bring into class, which is a workshop that I do on the value of you and me. So we're studying American history, those same slave narratives, as a matter of fact, to consider the value of you and me. And then when you hear these stories of what a slave would talk about and how, they just wanted to see their mother for the last time. The only thing they wanted to do was just see their mother one more time. And those kind of requests being unacceptable for a Black person and acceptable for a white person, a lot of the kids were able to see value in that we really are equal. There's really no difference. These are things now in schools that, when we think about slavery, I'm amazed that a lot of school students who don't even understand the concept of slavery, don't even understand that, that they wouldn't even have a choice in the matter. They don't even understand those concepts, because you know what? the concept of slavery is not being taught in schools the way we can with More Dance Project's Sacred Slave Stories. And in one show, we can go in there and we can have students asking for the remainder of the class term from February through June. Can we learn something else about those sacred slave stories?
Huh.
Now, to have a student inquire about more education is the way I think we can keep no child left behind. Those concepts we got to work into the system, but the way we do them is we kind of work them in there slowly but surely the way we're doing them now, because right now the administrators are caught up in a lot of political red tape and not addressing the real issue at hand, which is there are kids left behind, and that's unacceptable.
How many schools are you doing this at, or is it only schools that you're doing this at?
I do one county every year, and we've done Volusia County, Seminole County, Orange County, Osceola County, Lake County, and we've traveled as far as Jacksonville, Duval County, and we've done Pinellas County, as a matter of fact. So, and every time we go, we do at least, every time we have a performance, we do at least 1,000 students. So, to date, we've nearly cleared about 10,000 students over the past 6 years.
Wow.
Giving them access to sacred slave stories. And I have thank you cards and letters and boxes and stuff. You can consider me a hoarder, because last year we went to Osceola County and nearly 2,000 students sent me thank you messages. And some of the messages included stuff like, I have to pull it out because I love showing it, because some people think it's not true, you know? But here's some of my thank you letters. I like to carry these around. This came from Howard. I went over to the middle school over there, and one of the girls said something that was so poignant, I like to keep it handy in access. She says, "Thank you for coming over to teach us for a week. You have made me realize that I am important in some sort of way. Hope you come again soon." That's a real student who wrote that.
That's great.
And she got that out of a dance class. If you're getting that out of a dance class, guess what? I think we need to have more dance classes in schools.
Yeah.
Because more kids need to get that message. Yeah. And that's just one of like the 15 or so that I have here. But every time we do sacred slave stories or something, I can get thousands of these at a time. Kids telling me how thankful for teaching me that I am special for being me. You also taught me that I need technique, but I used to feel sad that I wasn't as technical as the other pre-pros my age. But now I know I need technique, and I've only been dancing for 1 year, and I will get better as I keep dancing. Just a little pat on the shoulder and saying, hey, you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
You can't expect to know everything right now. We got to work up to it. I get a kick out of what I do with my job, and I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. Got a great job. Got a good life.
That's amazing. Now, how have you seen your own personal growth change from when you started dancing, your ideas of what you wanted to do with dance?
I'm actually glad you asked me that question. I ended up being one of those individuals who's been told IQ is pretty high, who's been told I'm pretty intelligent, GPA is really is excessive in terms of all these good things. So with that information, I've also been tempted to use it in other ways. And the temptation showed up when I was about 17, 18, just as I was going into college. The option was to use all of this intelligence in the way that some of my brothers and cousins may have used it. I'm not passing judgment, but in our society it doesn't fit into the parameters of what is legal. I use those terms in quotation because I know that there's so many high officials in our government and on the other side that are doing things legally and they're unacceptable. So just not within the realm of law. So during that window, I made a choice. Dance and just be fully committed to it and just try this for a while and not do that stuff that you think you might have to do because you want to make it in life. If it wasn't for me dancing, a life of hardness would have been present for me. And the reason why I say that is because I have two brothers. And we were both taught the same, we have two other brothers, and we were all taught the same messages. My two brothers have done jail and prison terms. They are struggling in life and, health regarding health issues and stuff like that. I know I surpassed them, and so some of their choices and stuff like that that they've made in comparison to me, you can see clearly that dance has elevated my life rather than pulled me down. So I think it's definitely changed my life for the better, for sure. If it wasn't for dance, I wouldn't be here where I am right now.
Of course.
I have a great life. I have a great life.
Yeah. And now, how has that changed from your ideas of what dance was when you started to where you're at now, and where do you see this organization and what you're doing changing in, say, 10 years?
That's a great question, because when I first started, dance was very egocentric. It was all about the one individual that's in there, right? And it's funny that, you know, I would have started there because in my particular cultural community, dance for a black male is considered a little taboo, and it could be related to a whole myriad of things that may be seen negative. And I was